today we are going to be starting our story series with how horses have changed our lives.
Yeah, and so we did record this and had a pretty good session recorded, but for some reason the video didn't back up to
We
Google,
lost it.
and my phone got damaged and it was lost on my phone. So we're re-recording today, and we're going to be using the format that we're using with our guests for this particular series, and so with that, we'll just kind of take it away.
Yep. Okay, cool.
All right. So Alyssa, tell us your earliest memory of horses.
Ooh, okay. So my earliest memory of horses, I was about 7, 8 years old, and I went to a horse camp, a week-long horse camp for the summer. And man, that was the coolest thing. So I pretty much got up super early. We drove somewhere I'd get picked up, and then me and a group of kids my age and older, we would get driven to a place like a ranch, and there we learned how to brush the horses. We had a little bit of riding instruction, but yeah, I mean, mostly just getting to interact with the horses for like 7, 8 hours during a day, which was really cool. That was essentially what started my love for horses. My daddy, can I have a horse? All throughout the rest of my life until, well, he finally decided to say yes.
Is that actually your earliest?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that strikes me as odd, because then what caused you to have interest in going to the horse camp?
I've always loved them, but I've never.
But that's like your earliest like connection,
interaction,
and
connection.
That makes sense.
I mean, I've pet them outside of that area. I've kind of met them, but I've never gotten, like, I think that was the first time I actually sat on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, yeah.
It was the second time. So when we went to the family day for that at the end, and it was the second time I had sat on a horse in my life. And that's the time where, they're getting us warmed up in the round pen, and everybody's on their horse walking around the round pen. And I'm on the horse that I had, and he went in the middle of the round pen and stood there and wouldn't move. I had no clue what I was doing. The old cowboy guy was like chuckling, ha ha. He did it on purpose.
He did.
Yeah. So, yeah, that, I guess, yeah. It's not my story, but that's my second earliest memory of horses.
Those horses will always be like have a special part in my life. I didn't know any one particular of them too well. I mean, we were kind of assigned horses, but I got to work with 2, which was really cool. I still remember their names too. There was this one beautiful, tall brown. His name was Crazy 8, and he got his name because of, I guess, how much they paid for him at an auction. But he was super sweet. He had a really sweet personality. He was the one that I rode most of the time. And then the second, she was a little pony. She was like a miniature horse. She was commonly known as the pony. But her name was Pepper, and she was very sweet. She was one of those, like, she'd come and put her nose into my hands, and everybody else that she worked with, it was just like pet my face.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So kind of on that note of where your earliest memory comes from regarding horses, tell us your story. So this is all about telling the story of how horses have changed our lives. And so where did your horse loving journey begin? And it kind of piggybacks off the earliest memory, but where did it begin, and where are you at now?
So I guess all right, so when horses started healing me when I was about 13. I'm 16 now. And so, well, I was about 12 when I met Mocha.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot go on during the year of 2019, which you know about. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I will talk a little bit about it. I tried to take my own life, and that, I mean, everything leading up to that was very traumatic and difficult. And I felt very depressed. I felt like nobody cared for me. I felt like I felt like I didn't have a place in the world. And up until I started working with Mocha and therapists and counselors that I felt like I just felt shut down. Now, after that, I was spending at least one day a week with Mocha for, I was spending time with her for
Yeah, you were in
nearly a
training,
year.
she was in training.
Yeah, so the year of March of 2019 was when she started to heal me. I mean, she heard me. When I was around her, I felt heard. I felt like I had a place. I felt like everything was right in the world. And I mean, one may say, well, that's just kind of the horse doing the horse. I mean, I've always felt that way with horses. Like, I can just shut everything else out of my brain for now and everything's fine. But there was a certain level of understanding that I feel like Mocha had just listening to me, and how intently she would stare into my soul and just listen to what I had to say. And on top of, I was in equine therapy at the time. I was in talk therapy at the time. And, I think Mocha just had a way of comforting me differently than anyone else did. And so Mocha, I've talked about her a little bit previous episodes, but Mocha, she was my very first horse. She was a beautiful blue roan quarter horse mare. She was about 10 years old when we adopted her, and she will forever have a special place in our hearts. She helped me through so much in my life, and that's pretty much the start of my healing process. Now, here, about nearly 3 years later, I feel like I have a place in the world. I feel listened to. I feel heard. I feel empowered. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at listening to others too after that incident. March of 2021, I lost Mocha, and Willow kind of found her way into my life and has really played a huge part in helping me grieve Mocha, because that was a very traumatic time for me. Losing her, the time up until losing her. And Willow, she's a previously wild Mustang. When we went to see her, she was just baseline gentled, and she gave me all the signs of calm. Mm-hmm. And it was like the universe was telling me, like, this is your horse, and this is gonna be the reason why, like, she's gonna help you. And
you're gonna help her.
Yeah. And Willow suffered a traumatic past too. Being wild, being transported, captured, losing her family, taken here, there, the other place, until she was brought to us. And I feel like we've both helped each other in so many ways heal. Even though we can't say we're fully healed yet, we're definitely getting there.
Well, and we've talked about that a number of times, that healing, whether it be emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, it's a journey, it's a process. It certainly is something that takes time and effort and focus, consistently.
Yeah.
And as your dad, I'm extremely proud of you and your strength and your determination to do that, and to even just be able to sit here and have a conversation about those things. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of resolve, and it takes a lot of focus and determination. Arguably, I question, is it okay to share that with the world? But that's your choice. What I think you're saying, and what I hear coming out in not just this conversation but others, that we've had is that you feel the horses have been so instrumental in your own personal journey that it's important to share that with the world, because let's face it, especially the past couple years, the world's been in
Crazy.
a lot of turmoil.
Yeah.
Be it the COVID pandemic and now war going on, and I mean war is kind of always going on, but new stuff always coming up, and it's like a lot of times like I'll just come out and look out at our view and see what we have going on, and it's like really calming, and then I wonder like why is the world in such unrest sometimes, but
the horses have a really interesting way of like grounding me.
Yes.
And just
that's a really good way to put it.
Taking me back to that present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that, they don't want anything to do with me.
Right.
So
where are you now in your horse loving journey? Like, tell us about that, because okay, so we've had a few years of really difficult moments collectively. I mean, there's been a lot that has gone on in the past few years. Not only are you in adolescence and you're growing and you're changing, and your body and your mind and your spirit is all developing at a rapid pace, but we've also, Mocha's death, the sort of mental and emotional issues that you had prior to that creeping up, and then just as you're finding out, and as things just kind of keep coming up, and it's a lot of how we handle them and deal with them. So tell us where you're at currently in your journey with loving horses.
We're still alive.
Yes. That's great.
I think I love them. I mean, I love them now more than ever, because I had the opportunity to go through a couple courses that have taught me a lot more about how horses think. So I understand them a lot more now, and it's really cool to interact with them in that way, because I can go up to them and look at them and be like, okay, you want to be pet or you don't want to be pet. We'll just like have a conversation. They're my friends. And so that's really cool to have that relationship versus like a forceful, I'm going to get on your back and we're going to go ride and you're not going to enjoy it, but I am kind of thing. So I feel like I understand them a lot more now. I feel a lot more, I feel a lot calmer around them now, which is an interesting thing. I feel like I've always felt calm around them, but to experience some of the feelings that I've experienced with Willow, particularly at Cody too, but Willow coming from a difficult past, a very flighty, she's a Mustang, she was wild, she didn't like people. She's taught me a lot about communication and just letting things be. So I feel a lot calmer around them now, without, an alternate motive.
Ulterior motive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Even just a simple thing as, getting her brushed in the mornings. Some days she wants to be brushed more than others. She's taught me to just let it be. If she walks off, she doesn't want to be brushed, just let's see what she wants to do instead. So my horsemanship journey has certainly, I think it just keeps growing. My love for them keeps growing. My want for more of them keeps growing. And I feel like I have a really special connection with them that I don't know if everybody has.
Yeah, and yeah.
And I feel like I've come a long way from when I first started with them, both educationally, emotionally, physically.
Oh, yeah. It's mind-blowing to me, as your dad, to have seen and like witnessed the transformation and the growth of your own being, but also your determination and your focus and your consistency. And like, it wasn't just like, oh, I want a pony because it looks pretty and like we could ride and stuff like that. Like, you have much more of a in-depth focus on relationship building and learning life skills with your horses, than I think a lot of adults do.
I feel like that's a really important aspect of horses. And as I'm learning with other animals, dogs, goats, chickens, pigs, I mean, it's devotion for all of us. I mean, learning them and understanding them. And there are and there are an infinite amount of life skills that can be learned through horses, I feel like.
Yes.
And I'll name off just a few: confidence, self-esteem, self-confidence, like present moment, all sorts of respect and trust. And I mean, I can go on and on.
Yeah.
But
so for those of you just listening, I've been kind of staring at the phone here because I wanted to pull up something that kind of ties some of your thoughts together. And this comes from Warwick Schiller's Journey On podcast, which is phenomenal. I binge listened to it like while I'm working and doing things. I've listened to so many of his episodes in such a short period of time, and they're long. They're like Tim Ferriss style podcast episodes. I mean, they're a couple hours long. But he talks about he quotes this lady named Sarah Schlata. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. He talks about the kind of emotional aspects that really we all want as creatures, but I think particularly horses. Being seen, being heard, feeling felt, and getting gotten. And I just love that idea of, approaching horses in that way. And then I think what happens, like you said, like the way we approach the horses inevitably has an effect on how we approach ourselves and other humans in our life. And I've found that to be true in my own way. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's a really cool quote.
Yeah, being seen, being heard, feeling felt, and getting gotten. Yeah. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've dramatically impacted my ability to communicate with my fellow family members and friends. And even other animals. Like, I've taken some of what Willow has taught me to, training a puppy or interacting with the goats or.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's so cool to think about, how it just permeates. And it doesn't have to be horses. Like, I'm not, everybody needs a horse and whatever. That's not my idea, but certainly if you are thinking about a horse and whether or not it makes sense for you, maybe some of these more personal aspects of horsemanship will resonate.
Oh, they've helped me in so many ways.
Yeah. Yes. So, as the saying goes, hindsight is 20/20. So we have kind of perfect vision if we look back on the past. What's one thing you wish you would have known as your journey began that you know now?
Ooh. It's gotta be that you don't need force and pressure to get a horse to move. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned within. I mean, I mentioned the courses earlier, Mustang Maddie's Horse Human Connection Academy, and then what's his name? James French's Trust Technique.
Mm-hmm. I haven't gone through Warwick Schiller's course, or I don't know if he has a course. I know he has like a video library. Honestly, I haven't even watched any of his videos. I just listened to his podcast, and I've learned a lot through that as well.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, so starting out with horses, I was told I had a trainer who got me under the impression so many other people, like, it was like, you gotta pretty much force them to do whatever you want them to do. I mean, it's pressure and release. You shouldn't ever give them a choice because they'll always say no. And to my surprise, when I started like incorporating choice and I started training using positive reinforcement, which has also, I feel like, greatly impacted my training, but I'm starting to learn that you don't need treats to train using choice, which is also really cool. But it's been like, I have a much stronger connection with my horses now than I've ever had with any other horse, just by virtue of allowing them choice in their learning and in their daily activities. And it just kind of brings them back to, it makes their instincts roll, like, what's best for me? Do I need to, I have a choice to go get a drink of water or stay here and be brushed with you. Which one do I need more? And it's really cool to interact with them that way. That's definitely one thing I wish that I would have been able to incorporate in interacting with all the horses I had the pleasure of interacting with.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. And like you and I have talked about before, we both kind of had hunches about it. Like, is there another way? Is there a softer way? Perhaps, I feel like I'm more of a soft person when it comes, like, I'm not the, like, cowboy up sort of mentality. It just doesn't resonate with me. It never has, especially around horses. I feel like they're such gentle spirits and souls, and not to say that they can't be aggressive and stuff like that, because they most certainly can, but just like, it was such a relief for me to throw out that idea of, like, I've got to get them in the round pen, and I've got to do these 5 exercises, and I've got to, like, make sure that they give the pressure and give into the bit and all these types of things. And maybe those things are really important when it comes to, like, certain performance aspects. I really don't know. But in our situation, we really focus, or I focus a lot more on relationship than I do on performance.
Yeah.
So.
And it's,
it's really cool.
Going back and kind of remembering Mocha and even Cody's response to the pressure and, like, you're going to do this or else. I remember them showing a lot of fear and shut down and, like, and not to say...
They were just annoyed by it. At minimum, they were just annoyed and didn't really care to...
Not to say that the pressure is never needed, right. But it's like when I used it excessively every single day, every single time I was near them, they didn't want to be around me.
Yeah.
And now, by introducing a lot of choice into Willow and Cody's life, they both changed. Cody, I've seen a huge change with his...
He's a completely different horse.
He is. And we walk out here and it's like that. He'll look at us with his ears super far and he'll, ask us to come over and just pet him.
Or just be with him.
And
You don't... Most times he doesn't really want to be pet. And that's the one thing I'm learning with. He's an affectionate horse, but a lot of times, like, us as humans, we're like, oh, something fuzzy, let me pet it. And, like, they're not always wanting to be pet.
Yeah.
I don't think as much as dogs. But when they do want to be pet, like I was telling you yesterday, like, he loves to have his cheek scratched, like, really lightly. And he fell asleep, just standing up, like, deep sleep, closed his eyes, snoring practically while I stood there for a good 20, 30 minutes just scratching his face and his
Connecting
muzzle
with him.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he asked me to. Like, it wasn't like, you're going to stand here and
Yeah.
you have 2 ropes coming off of your bit and whatever, and like, you're going to stand here while I pet you.
Yeah.
No, he was like, well, he was in his pen, but
he's
he could have
changed
walked
drastically.
away.
Like, he used to be one to just like kind of just stare at you and be like, please don't come up to me.
Right.
Willow's changed too. I mean, she went from a very flighty, like, nervous mare to really affectionate, sweet, and she can hold her own.
And really calm.
Yeah, she's a super sweet girl.
Yeah. So, this being the Reinforce Your Horse podcast, what's your favorite way of reinforcing your horse?
Willow likes snacks. She really likes snacks. Let's see. My favorite way of reinforcing my horse. Well, okay, so for Willow's enjoyment, I like to feed her, she loves citrus fruits, so she likes oranges and grapefruits, and she also loves carrots. So I love to feed her those kinds of things that just make her eyes pop and get all excited. For my enjoyment, I love just letting her be and letting her kind of choose what she wants to do. I love getting her energy up, and I feel like that's a reinforcer all in itself, because it allows her to, exert her energy. And so I'll like toss my head and start running, and I'll, come on, let's go, and she'll just run. Those
at
are
liberty, and
completely
it's
free.
Amazing to watch you guys, and she'll do it a little bit with me, but she clearly like really enjoys your companionship, and like
she lopes and gallops. She throws her head.
We'll have to throw some
bucks.
videos out of you guys doing that, because it's just a really fun and playful thing. And I think a lot of times in life, I'm 40 years old, and I think as we get older, we lose the desire to be playful. Because the way I think about it is we just kind of stuff a bunch of like priorities and like, adulting sort of stuff on top of like the idea of being playful and just having fun and chilling out.
Yeah.
At times. And so like we get into these tendencies of like, oh, I'm so busy and I got to do this or that. And then what I'm getting at is watching you and Willow play like that is just, it's refreshing.
It's so
because
fun.
And she treats you as your horse.
Yeah, there have been a couple times where she's like pinned her ears and done this like,
yeah,
and then
right?
she like touches me with her nose and is like, oh, I can't nip you. Whoops.
Yeah.
But she doesn't like actually nip. She just like pretends to nip, and then she'll like throw her head back like, I didn't do that. You saw nothing.
Right.
Or I mean, she's gotten pretty close to donkey kicking me, but that's my fault, because I mean, I get her energy up and I'm standing a bit too close.
Yeah.
But like it's all her. Like, she loves to play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mixture between feeding her favorite snacks, because those, like, her eyes just go pink, and just like getting her energy up and letting her run and play with me, because man, that's so cool.
Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add, or any last minute takeaways for everybody listening?
Well, horses have definitely changed my life for the better. I mean, in so many ways. I've been very, I guess, sad and remembering the past a lot lately. Got 16 more days until a year since Mocha's been gone, and that it's been a very difficult time. Willow has been very affectionate and like she understands a lot. So they've definitely changed my life and have showed me that there is a place in this world, and yeah, I mean, they've changed me, and man, any of you guys who are experiencing difficult times, go and love on your equine companions, because
that's really good.
They they will help you. As always, thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, thanks,
and
guys.
Listening. And if you're interested in sharing your story, you can go and visit
ReinforceTheHorse.com.
Yeah.
There's a link right up at the top. Just schedule a session and we'll get you on a video call, and you know, it doesn't cost you anything. We do all the work. We're not really doing this for business purposes or anything like that. It's just we're just having fun
We're
and
just enjoying it.
and trying to share our message. And
be on the lookout next week for his story, and the week after our first guest.
Yeah, so we have Jen Kirk. Let's do that again. We have Jen Kirk coming up. So she's with Dragonfly Meadows in Canada, and she's a nurse who uses or partners with horses to help other nurses who have experienced burnout in their profession. So we have her coming up. She's going to be telling her story of how horses have changed her life and what she's up to.
Yeah.
So have a good day, everybody.
Bye, thanks. And then suds. Suds. Oh, suds.